Hello and welcome to another Wolftime gaming video. Today we're going to be painting some more Star Wars Armada, but this time I've finally found some time to actually look at these Republic capital ships, and tomorrow we're going to be doing the V19 Torrents as well, so keep an eye out for that one. But we're going to be looking at what we can do with these to make them a little bit more screen accurate and get them looking really good on the tabletop. But don't get me wrong, these vessels are absolutely fantastic. The detail is amazing. The paint job isn't too bad. There's a few little niggly bits, but overall the paint job is really good. But we're just wanting to tip it over a little bit, just add that little bit more. Before we get started on that though, as usual, let's get that kettle on. Okay, so first off, let's have a little bit of a look at some of the details on this. I mean, the detail is unbelievable. I really can't knock it. All these Armada vessels that I've had recently look absolutely fantastic, and that goes for the smaller ones as well. There are a few areas on them that I think need that little bit more paint on, which is what we're going to be doing today. And to start off, I'm just going to pop a little bit of battle damage, and I'm going to do that by using a little bit of this blue foam that I've got out of a storage box. And I'm going to dip it into the black paint that you can see here. Now I'm just using a contrast paint to do this. You can use any sort of black paint really, but you can see I'm just dipping it into the paint slightly and then putting it onto my plate that I'm using as a bit of a palette. And you can see it's not completely covering it, it's just putting a few little dots on there, and it works really well just to add a little bit of damage to the ship. And I'm going to be doing this with all three of these vessels. So you've got the two smaller ships and the acclimator here. So I'll speed it up a little bit and we'll go around these vessels, and it's just adding a little bit of damage, a little bit of dirt, a little bit of grime to the vessel initially. Now we are going to be putting a wash on this towards the end, so don't worry about going into it too much, but just take your time around the ship and just add that little bit more. If you want them to look like pristine, like they've never seen any combat at all, skip this step completely. You don't need to do this part really, and you can have them looking like brand spanking new on the table. So the next thing I'm going to do is add in some of the darker detail that is missing from these ships, and I'm going to be using another contrast paint called Basilicum Grey, and all I'm doing is dropping it onto the weapons. Now you can see there's a turret just on the top of these smaller vessels, and also on both starboard and port on the top of the ship, and also if you flip it the other way around, you've got the same details on the bottom as well. Now these are coloured out of the box exactly the same as the rest of the vessel, and I just wanted them to stand out a little bit more, so I'm adding in this Basilicum Grey to do that. And I've also done the same thing on the acclimator as well, so you can see here straight away now those little details are popping quite nicely from the rest of the ship. You don't have to do this, because if you drop a shade on the whole vessel, which we're going to be doing in a little while, you'll actually get the definition around these weapons. But I wanted them to be a bit darker from the hull of the main superstructure of the vessel itself, just so we're adding that little bit more in there really. The next thing I'm going to do is start putting the shade on there. Now I'm using a Null Oil to do this from Games Workshop. And I'm going to speed this up because it really does take some time, but what you can see I'm doing is just dropping it across the whole ship, but I'm concentrating on those recessed areas and any areas where the superstructure of the vessel is at a different level. So you know, around all those sort of right angles, all the bends and turns, just dropping it on the whole of the ship, and you can see this is what we get. You give the ship a complete covering of that, and you can see it darkens it down quite a lot in comparison to the acclimator, which, you know, if you wanted it to look really bright, it's probably better to water down that Nuln Oil a little bit more than I did, but I've gone straight onto it with, straight out of the pot, Nuln Oil over the whole ship. Now, one thing I am going to do on the acclimator is concentrate just around these areas here. You've got like this recessed area around the vessel, the same as what you've got with the Star Destroyers, and this area on any of the sort of source images I'm looking at is a lot darker than the rest of the ship. I'm going to be doing exactly the same process with the Nuln Oil, but I'm going to concentrate on this area initially, really laying it on thick and getting right in there into the recesses. The reason I'm using Nuln Oil rather than going into it with an actual paint is because you're not going to be taking away any of that detail that we've got in there. If you went in there with a black paint, you'd lose it. Now, you can see here on the acclimator I've done the left hand side as opposed to the right, where the right is a lot brighter, and now you can see the whole vessel's done, and straight away I'm getting more of a gritty, dirty, battle hardened vibe from these vessels, and I think they look absolutely brilliant. Now you can see where in the recesses around the edges where I was talking about it being darker, I went back over that with another coat of Nuln Oil after doing the actual hull of the vessel, which meant it went darker than the rest of the ship, and it really sticks out nicely. And the next thing I'm going to do is paint the engines, because I really don't think they're bright enough when they come straight out of the box. So I'm starting with Avalanche Sunset, and I'm just putting it completely in there on the actual the smaller vessels. You can see here, coating it completely, and then I'm grabbing some Flash Gits Yellow, which is an even brighter yellow paint. I'm just concentrating on the centre, the same way as we've done in the past with the fighters, where what it does is add that brighter colour to the middle of the engine, which makes it look like it's glowing, and it works absolutely brilliantly. You can see the difference now with that really pale yellow that you get out of the box. I really don't like that. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the acclimator as well, but obviously the engines in this are blue. Now you can see how dark I'm going with this in comparison to the lighter side that they actually come out of the box, and I'm starting with Sotek Green. Now you can see the Sotek Green was on the right there, and the lighter out of the box colour is on the left. And then I'm grabbing another paint called Temple Guard Blue, and I'm doing exactly the same thing as I did with the yellow, and just dropping it to the centre of the actual engine, making it look like it's glowing again, and you get that really nice effect, and it looks absolutely amazing on the table. I'm also going to be using Sotek Green across the bridge area as well, just to highlight that, because on some of the images we've seen, we've got this bluey sort of a glow from that bridge area, and also around that recessed area around the edge of the hull that we went darker with earlier, because what it does, it adds this sort of lights or windows. You can see here it looks absolutely fantastic when it's done, because what it does, it adds that little bit more interest around the bridge and around the edge of the actual superstructure itself. The Nuln Oil has darkened it down really nicely, so it looks really grimy and gritty. Now obviously, as I spoke about earlier, if you're wanting it to look like this straight out of the the shipyards and they've just been built, you probably don't want to do this, because it does darken it down quite a lot, but I think they look absolutely amazing. You can see the little bit of battle damage there just behind the bridge on this vessel, and just on the edges that we did with the little bit of sponge. The engines are glowing really nicely in comparison to what they come out of the box as. I think they look great out of the box, don't get me wrong, but look how good they look on the tabletop now in comparison to that really bright sort of light grey colour. I think these look absolutely amazing, and I really can't wait to get some games in. Please do make sure you hang around till tomorrow as well, because we've got the V19 torrent video coming your way tomorrow, where we're painting that really boring dull red colour that we get in the box into something that looks a little bit more like we see on screen. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Go and check out the channel now for more great content. There's loads of painting videos, including Games Workshop, Star Wars, and loads of fantasy settings such as Frostgrave and one of my favourites, Boros and Badgers. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.